Good morning, everyone. This week's Torah portion gives us the commandment to count 49 years, and the 50th year shall be the Jubilee year. Now, we're now in the midst of also doing a 49 count, which is the 49 days from Passover to Shavuot. Today is the 31st day, and the 50th day is the holiday of Shavuot, the marking the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai. But there's a very interesting distinction. When the Torah tells us in this week's Torah portion to count the 49 years, it says it in the singular, v'safarta lacha, you in the singular shall count. And when it talks about the counting of the Omer, it says it in the plural, usfartem lachem, you should count for yourselves, plural. And our rabbis explained that the Omer count is plural because every Jew has to count. Like today, every Jew has to count and say today is the 31st day of the Omer. But the count of the years to the Jubilee year is not counted by every Jew individually. It's only counted by the Bet Din, by the High Court, the Sanhedrin in Jerusalem. And here we have an interesting lesson in life. You know, human beings tend to think short term. We count days. We think about tomorrow, the day after, what we're doing next week, the week after. Especially in today's day and age, where with technology, our attention spans have become shorter and shorter. Someone once said that in the olden days, someone sent you a letter. You had a week to respond. Then faxes came out. Well, I sent you a fax in the morning. Why didn't you respond yet by the end of the day? Then we started with emails. I sent it to you 2 hours ago. Why didn't you respond to my email? Now we send texts and WhatsApps, and I texted you 10 minutes ago. You read it. Why didn't you respond? So we're expected to work faster and faster and think quicker and quicker and short term. But at the same time, while individuals think short term, leaders, Jewish leaders, have to think long-term, and every person is a leader. In other words, in areas of life where you're a leader, your family, your community, wherever it may be, even in business, you have to think long-term. You can't think in terms of days. Therefore, the Bet Din, the leaders, have to count 49 years to proclaim the 50th year, the Jubilee year. And the message is so relevant today. Sometimes we make decisions based on now, based on here, the power of now, as we like to say. But on the other hand, the Torah says, to be a leader, you have to think long-term. You have to think about the outcome of your actions and the consequences that will occur, not today, but maybe in 50 years from now. How the decisions you make today will affect your grandchildren. And indeed, when you look at Jewish history, you see that's what all Jewish leaders did. Moses, after the exodus from Egypt, told the Jews, relate the story every night on Passover to teach your children their history, Jewish identity. And here we are 3,300 years later, every Passover still telling the story. Why? Because Moses had foresight. And then once again in our generation, you know, it's a little known fact, but today, in 2022, there are more boys and girls learning in yeshivot and seminaries than at any time in Jewish history. And that didn't happen by chance. That's because the great Jewish leaders of the time after the Holocaust, whether it was the leaders of the yeshivot or the Hasidic leaders, instructed their communities to rebuild Jewish life, to start big families and build Jewish institutions, because they understood that if they wanted to save Judaism, they had to plan long-term for the future. And therefore, as Jews, we always have to think, how will what we do today affect the community and our family in 25 years and 50 years from now and 75 years from now? That's the way Jews think. This Thursday we're going to have a bris in the shul for baby dworkin. And when you go to a bris or a baby naming of a girl, it's fascinating what we wish the parents. We wish the parents, just like you entered the baby into the circumcision or giving her a Jewish name, if it's a girl, may you merit to enter into the boy into bar mitzvah, the girl into bat mitzvah, and to walk her or him to the marriage canopy. The baby's 8 days old at the bris, and we're already wishing the parents mazel tov for the bar mitzvah and for the wedding. And the reason is very simple. If you want your child to have a proper bar mitzvah, if you want your child to have a proper Jewish wedding, if you want them to lead a life of Judaism, you know when it starts? When the baby's 8 days old, or when the newborn girl is being named at the Torah just days after being born. Because in Judaism, you can't think short term. We have to think about how our actions today will impact our children, our grandchildren, and our great-grandchildren. Have a wonderful day.